This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Allen. Tonight, we're tackling one of the most critical issues facing our nation. No, not climate change, not economic stagnation, but a silent crisis beneath the surface: Canada's plunging birth rate. Canada's total fertility rate has crashed from nearly 4.0 children per woman in 1959 to an alarmingly low 1.26 in 2023, well below the replacement threshold of 2.1. As the population ages and our social programs strain under pension and healthcare demands, this baby bust threatens the sustainability of our entire welfare state. In his urgent C2C Journal piece, Dr. Michael Bonner warns of peak humanity, a demographic cliff from which recovery may not be possible. He highlights that immigration alone cannot mask the underlying decline without a significant shift in birth patterns. Canada's faces not a temporary lull, but a full-scale demographic collapse. So how do we get here? Is declining fertility purely a product of cultural change, family size norms, economic pressures, career demands, and so on and so forth? Or are structural policy failures at the heart of this problem? And what kind of national urgency is required to reverse this trend before it's too late? Well, to explore these pressing questions, we're joined by Dr. Michael Bonner, a political consultant with Atlas Strategic Advisors, contributing editor to the Dorchester Review, and author of the sixth installment in the C2C Journal's Restoring Canada special series, this one titled The Desperate Need for a Baby Bump. Dr. Bonner, thank you so much for joining us today for a crisis that many Canadians maybe didn't realize was happening.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It is a crisis, and I don't think that it has received the attention that it actually deserves. I was motivated to write this piece actually since probably even since high school, when we were presented with this theory of the graying of the population, which has been, talked about off and on from time to time. We looked at population pyramids and what have you, but the answer was always, well, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
And I just, that never sat well with me. And it seemed as though there probably was something that we could do, or it's at least worth, contemplating somehow. Birth rates are falling everywhere. It isn't just Canada. It's a trend throughout the entire world. There are places that are higher than others. There are places that are lower than others. But the general trend everywhere is the same. And eventually we will probably converge somewhere well below the replacement level of 2.1 or so kids per woman. The problem for Canada is that we built a welfare state in the middle of the 20th century when birth rates were much higher, that assumed that there would always be this sort of large base of the population pyramid that could be taxed to pay for dependence at the narrow top of the pyramid and dependence at the bottom. That's no longer the case. We papered over this deficiency with immigration for a very long time, and I won't say that didn't work. It did to a great extent. Although what we also did is that we made the welfare state increasingly more generous, which required borrowing and higher taxes and so forth. That's sort of a separate problem that we also need to consider. But the fundamental question is, if birth rates have fallen everywhere, and if the world in general lacks a large surplus population of people to bring into Canada to sort of keep papering over that problem, what will we do?
Right.
Now, it seems to me we need to confront this question. It needs to be examined and thought about, and that hasn't really happened yet.
Well, and you refer to this crisis as, and if I'm wrong, tell me out, but a civilizational emergency. Which is a very strong phrase. And why do you believe this issue is not being treated with the urgency you feel it demands?
I mean, I'm not going to infer any kind of nefarious conspiracy or anything like that, although I know that there are many people who do. I think that human beings in general would prefer to ignore crises. They'd prefer to sort of kick the can down the road, so to speak. I think it's as simple as that, and it's also, I mean, if the worst opinions on the matter are true, it's pretty serious, and it's the kind of thing that people would probably try to avoid or ignore if they could.
Right. It's And I guess it's a question that for many people feel it's above them. It's something statisticians should tackle, or economists, and so on and so forth. Well, we're going to dive into more of the finer points of this crisis when we return from this commercial break.